Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome back to the Minecraft Survival Guide. I hope you're having a good day. I'm not having a good day because we're in the Nether. Most people's idea of hell. It actually started off as a dimension named Hell. They changed the name at a certain point, but this is not everyone's favorite place in Minecraft, and with good reason. There is fire everywhere, there are lava lakes, the terrain is difficult to traverse, there are mutated pig monsters everywhere, ghosts that scream and occasionally throw fireballs at you. All in all, the Nether is a fairly unpleasant place, which is why thumbnails of it on YouTube never really seem to do well. But what if I told you there was a place inside the Nether dimension where we could be free from all of this pain and hassle and just get from A to B like the Lord intended? Well, I am here to tell you that today, yes, we're doing it, as you probably tell from the title and the thumbnail. We are going above the bedrock roof of the Nether to the Nether Roof. And for those of you who are out of the loop and haven't played Minecraft before, or maybe haven't got this far into a Minecraft playthrough, you will probably be thinking, wow, is that something you can actually do? And what is even up there? Well, today, you're going to find out. For the rest of you, this is probably going to be a reminder. If you've seen techniques like this before, it will be nothing new, but it will be a reminder to do this carefully. See, this is what I mean. Piglins constantly interrupting my video narration, probably not the best thing about the Nether. But yes, with an arrow in my right wrist, I cannot hammer this home enough. Before you go to the Nether Roof, make sure you are prepared to get back down. Because the amount of posts I see on the Minecraft subreddit from people being like, hey, I got to the Nether Roof, these are the supplies I have in my inventory, and it's like a hotbar of tools and nothing else. Please, please, please make sure you don't softlock yourself by getting stuck on the Nether Roof, especially if you're in hardcore, because you can't even die to respawn in the overworld, and it would just be a giant mess for all concerned. So the first thing I'm going to do is head back through to the overworld and triple check that I have everything I need to build a Nether portal on the Nether Roof. In fact, I'm going to build a Nether portal in the overworld first to make sure that the Nether Roof has a place to link back to in my spawn area here. And if you're not certain exactly why we're doing this, you will be pretty aware of that fact soon. So I've been farming a little bit of obsidian here and there. I've got some of it here. We can grab ourselves, well, we'll need 28 if we want to make 2 full-size Nether portals. Technically, you only need 20, but I like to build the ones with the corners. And we're going to grab a flint and steel if I have the materials for that somewhere. I mean, I know for a fact I have the iron. I'm just trying to remember where I put the flint. There we go, above the gravel. Perfect. And in order to make sure that we have a portal that links to the Nether Roof, once we have been there, we're going to build a portal at a Y coordinate of at least 128. Fortunately, in this area, that's not going to be too difficult because a lot of the hilly terrain in this area reaches pretty high coordinates. I could build a portal on the mountaintop over there, and that would probably be at Y 128. I think I'm going to build one in the mountain over here. It's lovely to look at, but I have not really used this mountain for all that much. I would like to put a Nether portal back here behind the waterfall, and it can be a kind of bat cave situation for us. That is at Y 140. Okay, that's pretty much perfect. We can always move these portals around a little bit later, but we're going to start by building a portal right here, and of course we're going to take the coordinates of the portal, which is x -912, z -212. Okay, we're going to light up that portal, and we're not going to go through it yet, because if we went through it right now, that would create a portal inside the Nether cavern. By default, Minecraft doesn't like to create portals for you on the Nether Roof, which is why you have to go there and build one manually, and getting to the Nether Roof can be a bit of a challenge. To get to the Nether Roof in survival, you will need some ender pearls, so I'm going to bring a full stack of these just to make sure that we have them. There are also a couple of different approaches we can take to get to the Nether Roof, the most common of which involves ladders, but we might also make some slabs and bring those with us. Before we leave, we will double check that we have absolutely everything we need to create a Nether portal. That is at least 10 obsidian and a flint and steel. I've also got my ender chest in here, which I have a decent supply of obsidian here in my obsidian box. I've got a backup flint and steel in my backup gearbox. We are basically good to go, but once again, double check these supplies so you don't end up getting stuck on the Nether Roof permanently. Okay, now we're back here in the Nether. I'm going to head up my stairs here to the Iceboat Road because that's a point in the Nether ceiling that I've already dug out a decent amount and somewhere that I can expect to work without getting interrupted by piglins. Right here we're at Y 114. If we dig upwards towards the Y 127 coordinate and make sure that you are prepared for lava to fall in on you when you do this, eventually you will start to see the pattern of bedrock in the ceiling above you. And bedrock covers the Nether the same way way that it covers the bottom of the overworld, and also the bottom of the nether, incidentally, in this sort of zigzag, jagged pattern of spikes and recesses. What we are looking for in this case is a piece of bedrock that is higher up than most of the other pieces of bedrock around it. That might be one of them. It will really help to enable, if you go into the F3, F6 menu, the looking at block coordinates. So if we put those on right here, I'll set those to always so we can turn them off, and we're facing those with F3. That targeted block data, the Y value, the central value says 125. We are looking for one of these that says 127. So it might take a little bit of digging around, a little bit of searching, but that right there is at 126. And that one right there should be at 127. That's not in the best position, though. It's going to be quite difficult for us to get into a position where we are looking at this, and I don't want to get trapped in bedrock. So I might dig around a little bit more to see if there is one that's slightly more convenient than that. There we go. That one should be about right, I think. Unfortunately, with the way bedrock is formed these days, it's actually quite rare to get two spaces next to each other where you can look at the Y127 block, because that's where having a slab would come in. If you place a slab on the bottom half of this block and you have a line of sight to the area above that slab, you could ender pearl onto that slab and simply jump upwards and you would be on the nether roof. But in this case, we have to do it the slightly more old-fashioned way of placing a ladder right here and ender pearling towards the top of that ladder. This might take a couple of tries, and for a second or two, it might look like you're suffocating in bedrock. The important thing is not to panic, press forward, and jump. One last safety warning I will give before you do this yourself is that this only works like this in Java Edition. If you are thinking about going above the bedrock roof in the nether in Bedrock Edition, if you're playing on mobile or console or the Windows 10 version of Minecraft, reconsider. Because on Java Edition, this is something of a legacy feature. We are still able to get up here, even though Mojang didn't intend for anybody to get on top of the nether roof. On Bedrock Edition, they effectively made it so that you cannot build anything once you're up on the nether roof. So you can get there, but the only way to get back down is to die, and you'd lose all your stuff up there. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. The parity between versions is probably never going to change on this score, so it's worth noting that once we are up here, you cannot get back down if you're playing Bedrock Edition. This is only a Java Edition thing. But what we're going to do is right-click with that ender pearl, we're going to jump forward, and we are on the nether roof. It's as simple as that. And in fact, once we're on the nether roof, we can actually locate the beacon that I used when I was digging out areas of the basalt delta to try and make a magma cube farm for frog lights. The beacon beam goes through bedrock, and that's a pretty sure sign that that worked the way we intended it to when I set the beacon up in the first place. Kind of forgot that was a thing. Actually, kind of impressed that that is the case. But now, having made it onto the nether roof with a single ender pearl, we have to get back down. Before we do that though, let's take a quick look around, because a flat floor of bedrock extends in every direction up here. The biomes still apply, so technically we're still in a basalt delta biome right now, and there are little patches of mushrooms everywhere. Red and brown mushrooms can be found up here, so as long as you brought some wood with you, technically you could make a lot of food while you're up here. But as the landscape of the basalt delta fades into what I presume to be a nether wastes biome, you can kind of see the particles over there still from the basalt delta, you'll hear occasional mob sounds. Those are all coming from the nether cavern below. Nothing is going to spawn up here because bedrock is not a spawnable block, and so any solid blocks we place in this area have the potential to be spawnable. That's another reason to be fairly careful once you end up here on the nether roof. But everything from the Y coordinate of 128 upwards is going to be free real estate for you at this point. This is a massive empty pocket of the dimension that is contained above the nether and is not really meant to be accessible, but was made accessible when the world height changed back in an earlier version of Minecraft. And now we have to find the coordinates that we're going to use to build our nether portal that will take us back to the overworld. Now, I've done the calculations in the calculator app, and it's -114, -26.5. And the Y coordinate in the overworld is 140, so we could build it that high if we wanted to, but basically anything above the nether roof will be fine. So I'm already more or less at the 26.5 mark. We're going to have to walk back this way to get to -114. We're going to build a standard nether portal frame up here on the nether roof using all of this obsidian, and once again, remember to bring enough obsidian with you. Bring extra if you can, just in case you misplace stuff. But once we light this portal with a flint and steel, we should be able to hop on through, and with any luck, we should emerge in that mountain cave that I mentioned earlier. Oh, and it's snowing outside. It kind of feels like we're still in the basalt delta, if I'm honest. But now the ultimate test is when we walk back through this nether portal, are we still on the nether roof? And the answer to that is yes. In previous versions of Minecraft way back when, I think before the Nether update was a thing, this wasn't possible. Whenever you made a portal on the Nether Roof, you could get back to the overworld, but Minecraft did not like placing you on the Nether Roof, and so you would always end up in a portal below the Nether Roof, unless you built the portal kind of embedded into the bedrock. Bedrock is the unbreakable block. You cannot mine it. Even if you stood here with a pickaxe for an infinite amount of time, the block would not break by you mining it. I'm pretty sure this is the case in the current version of Minecraft. There have been various iterations of Bedrock where it's just really, really hard to break or whatever, and then basically they have made it unbreakable as of a certain point. But it is possible to glitch Bedrock out of existence, and we're going to cover that in future episodes of the Minecraft Survival Guide. That is going to be your other lifeline, getting back down from the Nether Roof into the Nether Cavern, and thereby to the rest of the overworld. But I think it's going to make a sensible play now to just create a nether portal, because it's much less complicated and glitchy than what we're going to be doing in an upcoming episode. But now we're up here on the Nether Roof, you can see how this kind of expands our possibilities somewhat, because there's a lot of open area which is largely unspawnable. Now, stuff will still be spawning in the Nether Cavern below, but the fact is, if you build farms up in the sky here, you can position yourself far enough away from any spawnable space in the Nether that you can make pretty effective Nether mob farms, and this is where a lot of people decide to build a farm for zombie piglins to generate gold. Once again, only really a thing on Java, so apologies to the Bedrock players for how Java-centric this episode is, but it's a mechanic that I think a lot of Java players know about and deserve to know about if they want to exploit the game to its fullest. Not only that, but since the biomes up here exist in this fashion, we could make a magma cube farm here in what is technically the Basalt Delta biome. We could also go to a warped forest to see about farming some Endermen, travel to the Crimson Forest and build a Hoglin farm, and the Soul Sand Valley could be a decent place to try and farm ghasts on the Nether Roof as well. Now, all of this can be done in the Nether Cavern, but it has to be done with a decent amount of effort, and that's one of the reasons that I'm introducing the Nether Roof to this series at all. People often consider the Nether Roof kind of a cheaty thing, especially since it's only available in Java Edition as opposed to Bedrock Edition, but some folks will find crossing the line into the Nether Roof crosses the line into what they consider cheating, and that's entirely fine. I'm personally of the opinion that you can decide for yourself what is cheating in a Minecraft world, and I think the Nether Roof is fair game for a couple of reasons. The first of which is that sense of pure discovery. It's possible to do this in Minecraft, so why wouldn't we? We're already trying to exploit the various different mechanics of the game, why should this be any different? But the second thing is more of a consideration for players who don't have a ton of time to play Minecraft throughout their week, people who might be playing like a couple of hours a week at most. The Nether Roof just makes things like this easier. It makes it possible to build a gold farm without all of the effort that goes into spawn-proofing a bunch of the Nether like we've done for the Wither Skeleton farm earlier in the series. It can also be a really convenient place to build some sort of Nether hub if you don't want to dig out a ton of the Nether, but you still want portals that will get you from A to B, and most importantly, get you from A to B safely. The Nether Roof is a perfectly valid place to build portals. If there aren't any portals in the area, you might still be able to link a portal that's below the y-axis of 128 and still link to the Nether Roof. But players on Minecraft servers build entire Nether hubs up here on the roof of the Nether because they can build whatever they want up here and not have to deal with a bunch of stuff that spawns inside the Nether Cavern or digging out all of the materials, which if you're looking at Basalt Delta, it can take quite a while. Now in my case, I already have a couple of transport connections created inside the Nether Cavern, and when it comes to building a so-called Nether hub, a way of transporting myself around the world through a series of fast travel tunnels, I am going to stick to building inside the Nether Cavern for that stuff, so we're going to be treating the Nether Roof as a much more technical space. On occasion, if it is possible to move mobs through the Nether, I might end up moving them on the Nether Roof simply because it's a larger, flatter area, much easier to establish minecart rails and stuff like that. It will probably save us a little bit of time if we want to move mobs from one location to another. Like if I wanted to move these sniffers out to a more permanent sanctuary that I'd built somewhere else in the world, I would probably want to do that through the Nether Roof because the Nether Cavern is pretty dangerous, they're quite bulky mobs, and I don't want to get them fireballed by a ghast or something like that. That is all up to my personal preferences, of course. You can use the Nether Roof for whatever you want, but the main thing that remains is the safety warning. That's probably the most important part of this video, really. Make sure you don't get stranded up there, folks. I'm only going to tell you this once. And another great way of not getting stranded is to build another portal up there. So I'm actually going to dive into the obsidian supply in my ender chest to grab enough obsidian for another portal. We're going to head back through my main portal here into the Nether cavern. Ignoring the messy spiral staircase we just dug up there, we're actually going to head out to the Windy City, and I'm going to build a nether portal to the Nether Roof over here as well. Because I've been doing a lot of work over here, and this is similarly hilly terrain, so we should have a pretty decent start on the height of everything. We've got a nether portal here to the Ice Boat Road, but I want to make another one somewhere, and I'm wondering if maybe we could get it between these two gateway towers. Been a while since I built anything on the surface. I wonder what height we're at here. It is above the Y128 coordinate if we build it somewhere in between these two roof spaces. Yeah, I think that's going to look really cool. And maybe we can build some chains that look like they're holding the nether portal in place. Because the roof is an odd numbered space, we're going to have to make this an odd number width portal. So we'll go with 5 along the bottom there, probably 5 or 6 high. How's that look? Does that look good? Yeah, I think that's a decent proportion for a nether portal frame. Okay, we'll take down the supporting blocks. It's really weird because the beacon mine is right underneath this, so I have haste right now. I was like, why am I mining the stone so fast? And then we're going to stand in the center of this frame, and we are going to take the overworld coordinates so that we can reproduce a portal on the nether roof. Once again, once we light up this portal, we are not going to step through it. We are going to create a portal on the opposite side. And it does look kind of majestic up there, doesn't it? Once we attach it to the two towers, it will kind of remind you that this is the gateway to the city in more ways than one. But it also makes it so that if we want to get up there, it has to be very intentional. I'm going to have to land up there with a Elytra or fly up to it on a Happy Gust or something like that. Anyway, back into the nether we go. We'll take the Ice Boat Road all the way back to the other side where we got up onto the nether roof in the first place. And just for giggles, we're going to do it the same way we did it the first time around. I'm going to hop up here. We're going to place a block underneath me there. We're going to crouch, find an ender pearl at the top of that ladder, and see, that's what can happen when things go wrong. No worries, no need to panic, just got to ender pearl up there again. It might be a little trickier to do it at this angle. We need to aim sort of above the top of the ladder here. There we go. Okay, I just had to hold forward and press jump and get the ender pearl at the right angle, which is why you bring a stack of ender pearls with you, and you ideally bring more in your ender chest. And those coordinates are the coordinates of the nether portal we need to make up here on the nether roof. The overworld coordinates are 6378, -363, so we've translated that to 797, -45, which is going to be a pretty long trek here on the nether roof, which is one of the reasons that I brought a lot of fireworks and some elytra. Obviously, if we were treating this like a nether hub, we would probably want to make sure we had some kind of markers indicating which way to go. You can place torches here on the nether roof, of course, and that will allow you to mark the direction in which you're going pretty effectively because nothing else is lit up here. But here we are approaching roughly the coordinates we need, 797 and -45. We're about here. And this portal is a lot closer to the portal we built at ground level for the Windy City, so we better hope that this one works out okay. And the coordinates of this portal on the horizontal axes at least are a lot closer to the portal that we built to get into the nether cavern from the Windy City compared to over at spawn where the portal in the storage room is quite removed from the portal on the mountain. So that's why these coordinates ideally need to be as exact as possible, and you need to take the height value into account when building a portal that gets you to the nether roof from the overworld. But now if I step through this, I built it with the same proportions as the portal in the overworld, just so they look kind of similar to me, just to kind of keep that immersion going. And now we should step out of that gateway right on top of the towers of the Windy City. The other thing we need to test, of course, is will we make it back through to the nether roof if we go back the same way, or does this put us somewhere near the Ice Boat Road? I still have portal cooldown. Okay, I need to step out for a second or two more. Oh, no, the game was just lagging out slightly. Okay, well, we made it back. We made it back to the nether roof after all. The game kind of struggled a little bit to define exactly where we were because it had to load the chunks of the nether around the portal. Maybe, who knows. But either way, we have made it back onto the nether roof, and we are still about 800 blocks away from zero. Now let's head back through to the overworld, where I think it was getting dark last I saw, and we need to, first of all, sleep, and second of all, make this portal look a little more at home. Now part of me wants to do this with some copper chains, but I have a feeling they might look a little bit insubstantial from a distance. We'll give that a try. Maybe we'll add some lightning rods in there as well, as though they are kind of affixed to the sides of the portal. This isn't the biggest portal ever, so I'm kind of wondering if maybe using blocks or slabs as chains might be kind of overkill here. But yeah, I think the problem is really going to be the fact that the chains aren't going to travel diagonally. But yeah, I think the problem here is really going to be that the chains can't really turn corners all that effectively. So maybe we could do that with fences, but it might also be worth kind of roughing it out with slabs to see if that's actually going to look any good. Maybe something like that. That kind of looks like a chain from a distance. It's difficult to attach it to the top of the tower though. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe we need to build a better portal frame around this. Something that's going to hide the obsidian and make it look a little bulkier so that it makes sense for it to be attached to the two towers on either side, and also makes the geometry of this slightly less complicated and diagonal. In fact, having tinkered with a couple of designs in Creative, I've decided to not have it chained to the roof at all. Since this is the Windy City, this is the place where I'm going to have like wind charge launchers everywhere and a little bit more kind of high technology around. One of the things I considered was making it look like the gateway is actually hovering, suspended with some sort of mystical force. And I remembered that my favorite thing to do that with is conduits. Conduits are a light source block in addition to being something you can use to create conduit power underwater, but they kind of hover off the ground in a really interesting way where they occupy the central space of a block. And so I thought, what if we put a couple of those on either side and maybe one underneath as well, surrounded by something like lightning rods to make it look like the portal itself is being suspended in the air by some kind of mystical technology. But of course, we've got to dress the portal up in a fun way, so we're going to use some copper for that. I brought a little bit of red sandstone and warped wood as a highlight, and we can step down here into how far the beacon dig has gone and actually harvest some of the copper from the machine, which has now returned all but the last row of its fully aged copper from that batch that we installed in it in the last video. And kind of as a postscript to that, I can explain why we're aging the copper in the first place, which is that we can place all of this copper oxidized on the portal frame. We can dress it up however we want to, and then we can scrape off the age of it and we can wax it using some honeycomb and basically turn it into whatever age we want to on the fly, instead of having to wait for it all to age and then come back when we're ready to wax it. And while I was breaking off the first 4 rows of copper, that final row of copper actually got returned by the machine. So every piece of wiring here is all working fine. We got no problems there whatsoever. That's good news. All right, most of the frame is in. We're going to place a conduit on the side here. Maybe have it 1 block out from there, perhaps. And then we'll have a lightning rod above, below, and to the side like that. And that's going to make it look like there's some sort of, I don't know, energy pylons or something keeping it in place. We can figure out the story behind all of this later if we want to. Yeah, that's not too bad. I think maybe we bring them 1 block up from there, and the portal will look a little bit more even if they're slightly higher. But I think we want to put one underneath as well. And for that, I'm going to have to dive back into my ender chest and pull out the 1 conduit that I have in my water breathing box. There we go. We'll use that. We'll go fishing for another handful of Nautilus shells, because I think I have, 1 Nautilus shell, a couple of Hearts of the Sea. Let's step back and take a look at that. Yeah, no, that's definitely a better position for the conduits. Pulls it away from the roof a little bit more as well. Gives it a little bit more of that floating in the air kind of feel. It's a little bit Final Fantasy, but hey, I love me a Final Fantasy game. Now we're going to wax a couple of trapdoors down here so that we can use them in the build. Unfortunately, the trapdoors can't work in the copper aging machine in the way that it's set up, because they need to be solid blocks to conduct redstone power, and they tend to flap around a bunch and cause a bunch of noise and then get ejected from the machine again. So I'm going to be working on another copper aging machine that's maybe a little bit more lo-fi. It doesn't need all of the flying machines to split stuff up and put stuff around. It's just going to be more player driven, but will at least have a more automatic unloading mechanism. Anyway, for now, with most of the trapdoors installed, I think the frame of this is looking pretty cool. So it's time to go back through to the Nether Roof and remind you of one last thing that is probably worth doing as a precaution. And that is up here on the top of the portal, because of course the obsidian up there is a flat surface. That means it's spawnable up here on the Nether Roof. And so before anybody thinks I forgot about this, we do need to make sure that the top parts of these Nether portals are slabbed if we don't want anything spawning up here. And I think it's going to be good to have some copper around here to remind us that this is the portal through to the Windy City. So maybe we can decorate the portal on this side the same way, or come up with a slightly more spawn-proof version that's going to allow us to have some decoration here on the Nether Roof without worrying about stuff popping up on top of this. We really don't want ghasts around here fireballing the portal, breaking it, and leaving us stranded up here without a flint and steel. But as it is, we've now got a portal to the Nether Roof here and at spawn, and we can use that area for some more technical stuff in future. Folks, thank you so much for watching this episode of the Minecraft Survival Guide. My name has been Pixlriffs. Don't forget to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you folks soon. Take care. Bye for now.